Revisionist. The Revisionist is a title that just popped in my head one morning while I was having coffee, and it ended up being the last song that I wrote for Mount Pleasant. And I think one thing about growing up and like accepting womanhood is having this beautiful balance of like you have a lot of the tongue-in-cheek kind of youthfulness still in people pleaser, but then you also have this really beautiful hindsight that happens. And again, I think having so much time to like sit in my life, in my real life, I was able to just have a lot of that hindsight, where I was like, man, I accept where I am in my life and I'm proud of so much. There's also things that big and small in my life that like I wish I could go back and like take an erase or two, you know, or handle differently or more delicately or whatever. And it's such a classic country story song, and it takes you through these vignettes. Like the first one is that too loud? On that Delta flight out. I don't know, you can't see. The sky is so pretty. It's a pretty night. The first kind of story it tells is when I was living in Knoxville, the first house that I lived in. I lived next door to my cousins, and my cousin, his name's Chase, he dared me to go down this very steep driveway on a skateboard, and we're the same age, and so I wanted to be cool like my cousin. So I did, and I still have scars all over my knees and elbows from that. And you know, that's like a simple, I don't know, like a simple just little moment of like, I probably shouldn't have done that. I would have no scars on my knees and elbows if I didn't do that. And then the next story is the second house that we lived in growing up. We had this like fresh paint on wallpaper, and my mom said, don't touch the paint. And I was just like, I have to touch the paint. I don't understand. I couldn't compute that I couldn't touch the paint, so I touched the paint. And she asked me if I did with my little fingerprint in it, and I lied. And it was the first time I remember consciously lying. Again, like small moment in my life, but one that I wish I could go back and change. And then it goes, you know, goes on to deeper stories about like losing my virginity, which like, why don't girls talk about that? And I think about that from like the hindsight standpoint, but then also going back to the theme of parks, like in the future, like wanting to be a mother, and then like thinking about all these things in that lens of like, wow, okay, like you really do take everything good and bad with you as you grow up. In The Revisionist, I think the line that sums up the whole song is, can't outright it if it's wrong once it's written. What's the next line? Yeah. Can't outright it if it's wrong once it's written. Can't edit, just let it be history. Story of my life.